Well, when I was named the Archbishop of Saint Louis, I was named actually in December of 2003, but I wasn't installed as Archbishop until January 26 in 2004. The Archdiocese had historically and still has a wonderful major seminary, Kenrick Lennon Seminary, and this to me was a great gift because I was bishop here in La Crosse for 9 years, and we don't have a major seminary. It's always difficult when you aren't able to educate your own seminarians, and so I took a great interest in the seminary, and Father Nemeth was in the college seminary in his senior year. And so that first spring that I was there, he graduated from the college seminary and then entered into the theologate. And it so turned out that in 2008, when he was ready to be ordained a priest, I ordained him, I think on May 24th of 2008, to the priesthood. It was the last class. It turned out to be the last class that I ordained because in June of that year, then I was transferred to the Apostolic Signature in Rome to be prefect. And so that was a memorable ordination in many ways. And it was a large class. I think you were 8 or 9, weren't you?
We were 9.
9. So I followed Father in his assignments. I was especially interested in having young priests serve in the Catholic high schools to fortify their Catholic identity. And so Father was assigned to St. Pius the 10th High School, and he did a tremendous job as a priest there who took a great interest in the students, and of course they responded very positively. But it turns out too that the school needed eventually an administrator. I think I was gone already by the time you were named administrator of the school, and he put it really on very solid ground, first from Catholic identity point of view, but then from the economic point of view to get the school to secure its future by getting the proper financial support for it.
I was the president of the student council in the college seminary. So must have been right after the announcement, I think one of His Eminence's first visits was to the seminary. And most of us already knew him by reputation and were extremely excited. So I remember since I was the president of the college student council, I got to sit at the table, for that first luncheon, which is of course very intimidating when you're a lowly seminarian and you're kind of being put in this position. But I remember which I think everyone who interacts with him knows, that just the kindness and gentleness, and we always felt that he was our spiritual father, and it came through very clear, and that in turn left us, very loyal to him because of the love and attention he showed us. Some point about midway through my theology studies, I was appointed by the seminary to be the student master of ceremonies at the Cathedral Basilica of Saint Louis. And I got to work with 2 very fine priests, Monsignor Henry Breyer, Father Thomas Keller, who really taught me so much about what it means to be a good MC. I got to experience some of the most magnificent liturgies with, His Eminence as the celebrant. There was just, in that time as MC, we also had a lot of interaction together, a lot of time for conversation, and that was something I really treasured. And then my deacon year, His Eminence asked me to help his secretary out with, kind of bearing the load of all the confirmations that have to be covered and taking some of the confirmations at the cathedral. So that led to even kind of more time that we were having conversations. And so my knowledge and love of the liturgy really grew from my time at the cathedral. And I'm thankful to His Eminence, but also to Monsignor Breyer and Father Keller, because I've learned so much that I've been able in turn to kind of pass down to the kids who serve for me. I think most priests will tell you that our religious vocation came from serving at the altar. And I am very proud of the work at my parish in St. Genevieve, Missouri, at the amount of servers that we have, and just how seriously they take their responsibilities of serving. And the other valuable point is really that there is a camaraderie in the sacristy. It is a prayerful space, and we're preparing to celebrate the Holy Mass, But there's always that little bit of banter, and particularly the young men, they like that. They like that banter and that joking and interacting. So, because it's kind of how a father and son kind of banter and interact. When you're in high school work, it really is about building relationship. It is about being interested in the lives of what they're doing, not being afraid to jump into conversation, not being afraid to tease them a little bit, and they understand sarcasm very well. So it was easy for me to communicate with them. I got involved when I was at St. Pius with coaching the football team because there was a need. I can't say I was a great coach, but when I moved to Valley Catholic, which has a very, very kind of noteworthy football reputation in the state of Missouri, there was really nothing for me to do as a coach, but the head coach, Judd Nagger, loved for me to do a reflection each week with the boys. Usually I'd focus on a lot of the readings of St. Josemaria, and because it kind of appeals to the masculine spirit. And then I'd be on the sideline, sometimes kind of being the den mother, having to hold an inhaler or having to do this, hold the kicking block, and sometimes having to, pat them on the shoulder and tell them it's okay, sometimes telling them, like, we got to toughen up and get the job done. So I think they've always enjoyed my presence on the sideline because I also add a little comedic value out there. So it really is about being involved in what the students are involved in, having that relationship, and then in those conversations, it's very easy once they're listening, once you have that relationship, well, then you can start teaching the faith a little more in those little ways, because they become much more receptive. And the end result that we hope for is that we will see some of them go into the priesthood and religious life, because now they have seen that we're normal human beings, that we weren't hatched, that we came from families just like them, we played sports just like them, we struggled just like them sometimes in school, and so they see now, like, this is something that's attainable if this is what the Lord's calling me to. And it then makes it a little less scary to say yes to that discernment.
So over the years, it's now some years since I left St. Louis. As I say, it was in 2008. But I've kept following. First of all, I was only Archbishop of St. Louis for 4.5 years, but I really fell in love with the place, and it was very sad for me to leave there. And so I've kept up, of course, never interfering with the affairs of the Archdiocese, but kept up a number of friendships with the priests and with the lay faithful. And so I followed Father's work as a priest to quite carefully, and especially I've admired, and I've been to visit, I had been, as Archbishop, visited the parish in St. Genevieve, but Father invited me there also not too many years ago. I came and saw all the wonderful work he had done. It's an historic church, a very beautiful church, and Father's done a lot to restore its beauty. And then the high school there, the elementary school and high school were so important. And during my years as Archbishop, they were struggling to meet expenses and so forth. And Father went there, and he's really got them on very solid footing now in terms of the support for the Catholic schools. And then he was attentive to the appointment of good administrators and teachers. Of course, Catholic schools are only Catholic to the degree that you have the right people who are teaching and administrating. Of course, he understood that and really has done a great job there. So whoever comes to succeed him was going to be very grateful to Father for all that he's done. And so we hope too, because obviously I'm very concerned for the shrine, and so happy that someone of Father's gifts, with his priestly gifts and his gifts also for administration and for the necessary financial support that a great work like the shrine requires. I'm also concerned for St. Genevieve, that someone comes there who will continue this work, because good things it takes years to build them up, but sadly they can be torn down overnight practically, and so it's so important to have the right kind of succession. Father Czech has worked very well for 4 years, and especially as a spiritual leader, forming a wonderful staff and emphasizing what you mentioned about the servers, this important work. And then, of course, we have the handmaids, Our Lady's handmaids too. And so Father Nemeth, I have no question about it, will continue that same work and then bring his particular gifts, as each of us does, to the leadership of the shrine. I always wanted to have a priest as the executive director, but by the time that I established the shrine and then we dedicated the church in 2008, the La Crosse was not able to free a priest to serve as executive director, and then I was in St. Louis, but there too I was a little hesitant right away to take a priest for this work, and but in the year 2020 we had a bit of we had a changeover. The person who had been executive director for 9 years was a layman, a very good man. He resigned, and so I needed a priest. What was really necessary was to build up the staff. And I asked Father Chuck, I had known him for years. I asked him to come, and he came and he did that, and then he wanted to stay on and for some time, and he did, and gave very good service here. My principal concern for the shrine is exactly a fatherly concern, the concern of a spiritual father for the staff first, because they are the ones who serve the pilgrims. And then obviously for the pilgrims at the same time, the two things are mutually present. It's not that one is more important than the other. And it's the executive director who, if he can be a priest, and thanks be to God, he has been and will be, he provides the spiritual care of the staff, inspiring them, encouraging them, sustaining them in their work with the pilgrims, and then he works himself directly with the pilgrims. He'll be meeting a lot of them, and then, of course, to take care of all the aspects of the life of the shrine that make it possible, a work like this, a spiritual work like this. There are a lot of unseen but very important aspects that have to be attended to, and that's the work of the executive director. And so it really is a paternity. It's a life-generating, a spiritually life-generating work. And I can't, first of all, I'm getting older, and secondly, I have to spend, as a cardinal, I have to spend time in Rome and providing service there. And so I really count on the executive director to carry out that fatherly love that I have for the shrine, and by that I mean the staff, the pilgrims, everyone involved, our benefactors, it's a big family, thanks be to God. So our directors, our board of directors who have the ultimate responsibility for the life of the shrine, and so the executive director is the one who's carrying that out, and so this is I try to be as close as I can be to the executive director to give my own leadership and also to be supportive and sustaining, and it works.
Just as a father provides for the family, to help put food on the table, it's also, we have to take care of the temple needs of the shrine. And when you have such an important mission as the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe in La Crosse has, we need to really focus our energies on our mission and keeping that mission a narrow focus of this is what we're about, and everything must be oriented to the mission of the shrine. So it's a both and of being the spiritual father of the pilgrims that come here, and especially the staff, but then also having to do kind of the temporal work as well. I think the vision of the shrine has been very clearly articulated by His Eminence many times, of this being a place of pilgrimage, prayer, and peace, really a great center of the devotional life of the church, which which feeds us. It flows from the Eucharist into the devotional life of the church, feeds our personal spiritual lives when we're not at Mass. I think really one of the most important works that I've been entrusted to do by the board of directors is to build the St. Juan Diego Pilgrim House. I think that is going to be really the beginning of a new season for the shrine's life, because now those that come into this peaceful, serene, environment, not just the beautiful shrine church, but also the beauty of the nature that surrounds it, they don't have to leave. They get to be closely connected to the church and a little removed from the world. And I think that is the true nature of pilgrimage and what people are going to really experience and enjoy about the St. Juan Diego Pilgrim House. We get away from the noise of everyday life. We live completely consumed by vibrating phones, buzzing phones, notifications on the phones, constant emails, social media, and all these things are like that tap on the shoulder constantly wanting attention, and it almost produces an anxiety in us. So when we come away from those things and make a pilgrimage to a holy place, and we separate ourselves from those distractions of the world, all of a sudden it kind of melts the veil away, and we can hear the Lord much more clearly. All good work and development is about inviting people to partner with us, to join with us. People want to be a part of something successful. Everybody is in our human nature wants to leave a legacy. For most people, that's going to be the legacy of their families and generations that go after them. But there's a spiritual legacy that we can leave by being a part of a great project like this. So many people were a part of building this magnificent church, the magnificent grounds here at the shrine. So they're going to be just as excited about continuing to bring the shrine's next phase of its development to fruition.
We've wanted, from the day that we dedicated the church, we've talked about building this pilgrim house, having a place where the shrine, every holy place of pilgrimage, has a fundamental quality of hospitality, to welcome pilgrims, and we do welcome them here as best we can. But when the pilgrims say, well, is it possible for us to stay for a few days? We haven't been able to offer that. And also to have conferences, and both large and small, in which people can enter more deeply into the message of Our Lady of Guadalupe and other aspects of our Catholic faith. And now we'll have that with the Pilgrim House. The rooms for 33 individuals or couples or families, and then also the floor with the large conference room, and also the two smaller ones for people to come and gather and deepen their spiritual life through presentations, discussions, and so forth. And so this has always been our desire, and it's just taken a long time to bring it to the point where we are now, and we're ready now to break ground, which we will do, God willing, on October 7th. And thank God that the Board of Directors has elected Father Nemeth as the Executive Director, and so he'll be able to be here. That'll be his first major event as Executive Director of the Shrine, the groundbreaking, and then the whole excitement of the work of building the Pilgrim House. We have the plans for it are wonderful. It should be a wonderful facility. We know there'll be a lot of challenges along the way, so we have to pray a lot for the protection of those who are working on building the Pilgrim House, and then for all the support that we need to bring it to completion. But so this is Father made the mention that this is the next stage in the life of the shrine, and it'll be very significant. It also comes at a time when we're concluding our 9-month novena to Our Lady of Guadalupe, which has been a tremendous spiritual work to respond to the crying needs of the world and the church. And so we'll be doing that solemn consecration on December 12th. But then when a consecration means that our lives have changed in some way, and now we're working with Our Lady And so this is the next phase, and that will be to form our Guadalupano Guild, those who are binding themselves to work with Our Lady, praying for the good of the church and the world. And then next year, too, is a significant year for me personally, but I think for the shrine, it'll be the 50th anniversary of my ordination to the priesthood. And the shrine, in a way, has been the principal work of my priestly life. And so we'll be celebrating that great gift of the priesthood and its fruit. And so there are just so many aspects this coming period. And now to have a father on board as executive director with his youth and energy and great competence, this is a great gift. It fills me with so much joy and so much confidence about the future.